On this episode of the John 1911 Podcast, the gay of Hormuz, Chinese targeting for Iran, the future of NATO, and Trump's gold coin. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 398 of the John 1911 Podcast. Today is Friday, March 20th at 11:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As usual, I like to timestamp stuff because things change so quickly that, you never, I don't want people, something happens in the news in 90 minutes or while we're recording, and then they're like, why didn't you talk about that? So, well, it's been a long time, brother. How you been?
Really busy. Been working a lot of games. It's that time of year for me. You know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I actually I have to get a search party, and we need to go out and look for that Japanese reporter's face because he lost it all.
I'm not following the joke. Are we talking about,
The Japanese reporter lost face when Trump told him, "Why didn't they tell us about Pearl Harbor?"
oh, I didn't, okay. Well, see, I've been so out of pocket because I've been sick. I heard a reference to the Pearl Harbor thing, but I thought he said that to the Prime Minister of Japan. He
Well,
said
no,
that to a reporter.
This was in at the White House, and the Japanese reporter asked Trump, "Why didn't you tell us that you were going to bomb Iran?" With the Japanese Prime Minister sitting right next to him, the Japanese reporter asked that question, and Trump said, like, basically, the Japanese are one to talk about being secret. Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? And the prime minister, she squirmed more than a damn water moccasin.
Uh,
Sitting in her chair, you should have seen her face. And the Japanese reporter committed Harry Carey soon after.
Dude. I mean, look, I hate
I,
that. I,
the biggest mic drop known to man, right
I
there.
I hate that oil is 110 a barrel right now because personally, right now, it's costing me a lot of money. Not that anybody cares, but I've lost a lot of money since this war started. I'm not going to say how much, but a lot. But
Well,
it's almost worth it. If I
well,
just start,
if you
start
if you
shit talking Pearl Harbor in front of the Japanese.
Well, why the hell would you invest in General Dynamics and Honeywell? You need a better investment guy. I got a guy.
I believe I am invested in a lot of defense companies. I actually, well, this is a story from a long time ago. So this was against a stock story. So I was very young, and this was in probably 1999, or maybe it was before 9/11, and the Clinton presidency was coming to an end. And you didn't know who was going to be. There wasn't a front runner for the Republicans as far as I could tell at that time. So I go into this investment guy at this bank, which I don't use anymore. And again, I'm young, but I did okay. So I had an investment guy, which I think irritated him, because he was a junior guy, and I'm like, I want to buy, and I had singled out these. They weren't ETFs. I don't know what they were, but they were investment. They were tranches of. It might have been like an ETF play, but it was tranches. Focused on individual businesses. And I said, I want to buy this, this, and this that were all focused towards the defense companies. And then I wanted to buy this, this, and this, which was all energy. Primarily, it was oil. And, the economy was, generally good. And,
the Clinton, everything that happened with it. But it was at that time, people look back, but now they think they're so smart. But back then, you got to realize everything was technology. It was all the .com stuff, the bubble hadn't burst. And he was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And he's like, "I'm just curious. I got to ask why." I'm like, "Well, dude, after 8 years of this, the peace dividend and Clinton and cutting defense," and I'm just like, "Dude, I mean, it's cyclical. Like we're going to have to. I don't care who's going to be president. We're going to have to start spending more money on defense." He's like, "Okay, and let me tell you something." It was the next couple years, like 9/11 and, just all the shit going on. I cleaned fucking house on that. Yeah, I cleaned house, and it's like, I'm not like I'm that smart. It's just kind of like some common sense farmer logic, like Warren Buffett logic. Like, come on, like,
Well, back in the early 70s, my age, I could have gotten in on the ground floor of Apple. And I thought to myself, oh, that shit'll never make it. Instead of me taking a bite out of Apple took a bite out of my ass.
The biggest, and then we're going to get back to topical shit, the biggest theoretical financial loss, unrealized gain that I've ever had was in the late 90s. Because again, in late 90s, I was sitting pretty good. In the late 90s, I went to a Lamborghini dealer, and I was thinking about buying a Lamborghini. And again, young, and people wouldn't, didn't take me seriously, whatever. And I'm looking at this. I think it was a titanium Diablo SV. It was this titanium Lamborghini car. And because I just loved Lamborghinis as a kid and loved Countach and all that kind of stuff. And in the process of talking to this dealer and kind of going back and forth, this went on for like maybe about 2 weeks. Looking at him, driving him, just getting a feel for it. At one point, I went behind the dealership and parked outside in what you would call every dealer has this thing, I call it the graveyard, where they park their rundown cars.
The back of the rack.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite the graveyard, but they had it sitting outside. And trust me, they didn't have any other Lamborghini sitting outside. They had what I believe now, because I didn't recognize it for what the actual year was, but they had I think it was a white Countach. And I think it was probably a 25th anniversary edition, now looking back on it a little bit more. And they had it sitting outside, and they wanted, it wasn't any more than $60,000. It was, but I don't know, like 50 or almost 60, roughly 60. So it was a little, at the time, it was more than, say, like a BMW, like 328 or, whatever the little hot little BMW was at the time. But it wasn't stupid money. And I'm literally like, damn, I want this car. Like, this is the car I want. And, at the time, everyone's like, oh, fucking old Lamborghinis, you're going to lose your ass on that. The maintenance on that's going to be terrible. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. But I love the car. And I went out and I was like, man, I want to get in that car. And I got in it and my head was so scrunched up because I'm 6'1" into the ceiling that I was like, holy shit, like this is built for like a short little Italian dude. Because I've never been in an actual Lamborghini Countach before. And I was like, I'm not going to buy a car that I can't drive. Well, a couple things I never learned until later in life was that they have tall man conversions where you can change your seats and do all that. So I could have modified the car, but I wasn't intelligent enough to know that at the time. That car now, they're trading for $700,000. And some of them are predicting that I think they're going to break $1 million. Like some of the rarer, like downdrafts and those old Countaches. I really wanted that car. And I don't know if I would have been able to hold on to it and maintain it, store it, and deal with it over the next 30 years, 20, 20, they're almost 30 years. But I mean, I would be sitting if I still had. I'd be a hell of a return, relatively speaking.
Yeah, well, you and I both know a guy that got, one large for, a Lambo. They do certain ones sell.
Yeah, they've Oh yeah, I mean I mean, but we're gonna get off that. We're not gonna
You're
talk
right.
about all that
Yeah,
shit. So
we need to talk about Iran, about this, that, the voter ID. We got a lot to go on.
yeah,
Where do you want to
so
start?
you know what? I want to talk about Iran a little bit because it's so topical. I haven't been doing pods, and it seems creepy because I mean I've been really sick. Long story short, I've been poisoned, and they thought maybe it damaged my heart. And I have one more test on Monday, like where they're going to shoot dye into me and like look at me at an MRI to confirm. But they're pretty confident that like my heart wasn't damaged, but at this point it's just precautionary. So I'm starting to work out again and do whatever. So, but I've been following all this stuff. There was an incident that happened a few days ago that really perked up my ears. And I can't remember where the base was, if it was in Saudi Arabia or if it was in Jordan. But there was a drone strike by the Iranians that damaged 5 KC-135, air refueling tankers.
I seen that.
Yeah. And I was like, the thing is, those planes have not always been there. I mean, those planes were not there a week before. Or maybe they were, but they can move them around. They could be at different parts. Maybe they're in the same spot every day. Maybe they're not, but they were, they're all there. And apparently 4 of them were returned to duty like almost immediately. And the 5th one, I guess, needed a little bit of repair. Like it wasn't going to take it completely out of action. But I saw that, and you got to understand, like Iran does not have like spy satellites. And I'm like, the Chinese and the fucking Russians are feeding targeting information to the Iranians.
Oh yeah. Somebody was giving them satellite imagery.
And what's been happening is, and I also know this, like very up-to-date satellite imagery. And there's a company and I saw this like a week or so ago, there's a company that's on Twitter. It's a Chinese satellite imaging company. And they somehow have access to some Chinese pseudo-military imaging satellites. And what they are doing is they're publishing on Twitter every day satellite images of U.S. military allied bases and facilities around the Middle East, and they're labeling individual things like F-20, like literally an F-22 aircraft. Like that's an F-22, that's a this is a KC-135, this is a C-130, this is a whatever, this is this. And they're publishing it on Twitter, and it's every day. And I can't remember what the China. So we have GPS. The Russians have GLONASS, which is the navigation system, and I can't remember what the Chinese system is called. It's kind of like the name Baidu, but it's not Baidu, but it's like really close to me, the word Baidu. So I'm going to say Baidu. It's a BDAO or some shit. And this company is publishing BDAO coordinates of all this shit on fucking Twitter, and it's obvious that they're doing it to provide targeting information as, quote, open source, for the Iranians. So it's not just the Russians, it's the Chinese.
And I think this is part of propaganda / look what we've got / mental warfare on the parts of the Chinese and the Russians. I really do. Saying, look, we could satellite image what you have on the ground, basically trying to do the one-upmanship. I think a lot of psychological warfare is going into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably fair to say that for the Russians, at least, this is some payback because we've been helping the Ukrainians with all the targeting. The Chinese are so embedded with the Iranians that it's not being covered. I mean, it kind of is, but they're not directly saying it. So, like these Shahed drones that are flying all through the Middle East, they're not using GPS. They're using, I don't think GLONASS, I think they're using this Beidou system, the Chinese targeting, the Chinese navigation system, because we're spoofing and doing whatever with the GPS. Like if you look at some of the ship data for tracking ships that uses GPS, like for tankers, you'll see tankers that are like 150 miles inland, that are supposedly sitting in the Persian Gulf. It's because we're skewing the data. We have our GPS system is set up, and we've always done this, the U.S. military. We have the ability with GPS to scramble GPS publicly, but it still works for military GPS receivers. So people can't use GPS against us.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, and then there's like, have you heard reports about the Chinese soldiers being killed in Iran?
No, I have not.
Yeah, the West, they're not. Trump knows this is true. So there's like at least 400 military advisors and technical advisors in Iran.
Advisors, right?
Yeah, well, half of them are military and half of them are something else. Well, not half. I mean half. I don't know what the numbers are. But like I know for the last reports were, because this is coming out of China, it leaked out and they're all talking about, there were like 11 soldiers killed. And some of them were employees from DJI, the drone company, and the rest of them were a group of Chinese that were technical advisors for air defense. So it's like, well, here's what it is. When the U.S. and the when the U.S. and the Israelis went in and cleaned out the Iranian air defense systems, last June when we bombed, the facility. Remember, because the Israelis went in and like wiped out a lot of their air defense. And so there was this window where they're like, if the U.S. is going to bomb these nuclear facilities, this was like last summer. You got to do it now because it's wide open. And then we sent the B-2s in, and, there was a big debate whether it's really destroyed or not, right? Well, what happened was the Iranians were like, holy shit, we need all new air defense systems. Well, the Russians can't give them anything. The Russians have lost enough air defense systems, and they're so embroiled in trying to deal with shit with Ukraine and around that theater that the Chinese brought in a bunch of their air defense systems. And so when the U.S. and the Israelis went in this time and started taking out the, quote, Iranian air defense systems, in numerous cases, it was Chinese equipment being manned by Chinese soldiers. And we knocked it out. And that is causing a big shitstorm inside of China. There are confirmed DJI employees dead. There are confirmed at least some air defense, quote, technical advisors dead. There's also stories going around in China that a lot of these Chinese military advisors and or / operators, advisor, wink, wink, just like Vietnam, wink, wink. Like there were no Russian pilots flying MiGs in North Vietnam during the Vietnam War, wink, wink. They were all North Vietnamese, wink, wink. So the reports are that there are potentially a few hundred Chinese soldiers, advisors, technical, either military or technical companies, that are stuck in underground bunkers around Iran and either can't get out because they can't get out of the country, or they're buried or dead because they've been destroyed and killed in these underground bunkers. And
Really?
Trump knows it, the DOD knows it, the Chinese know it, and the Chinese know that we know. That's yeah, oh yeah. And there's the and part of the reason why we went in is because the Chinese were going to, because they were talking about imminent, like Trump and Hegseth have talked about this, but they're not real specific. But they're like, yeah, they were going to rebuild their conventional networks to defend their nuclear, and they decided they weren't going to stop, and so we had to move in now. Well, there were a couple reasons. The Chinese started bringing in a bunch of air defense, and they started bringing in stuff for fuel for these ballistic missiles. I don't know this, but I believe most of the Iranian ballistic missiles are liquid fuel. They're not solid fueled. You can typically tell, just for the home gamer, if you're like looking at a missile firing, this is the general rule. It doesn't always apply. So if you like work at NASA, don't kick my ass. I'm just helping people out here. The general rule always was, if you see white smoke when a missile's launching, it's a solid rocket fuel. If you see black smoke, it's liquid. That was always kind of the rule. Well, the Chinese brought in tankers with a bunch of this liquid shit in that they could get by. The Chinese were flying in shit. Like we don't know exactly. Well, maybe the Defense Department knows. But then the Chinese were also going to bring in more air defense. And then the Chinese were going to sell, I don't know if it's like the CO2 or CO8. There's a hypersonic missile that the Chinese have, an anti-ship missile. And the Chinese were about to start selling those to Iran. And the U.S. was like, we freaked out. We're like, no. Because we can't. These missiles, they're hypersonic. I mean, most of the, unless you're like an Exocet or Tomahawk, most of these anti-ship missiles are all hypersonic. But you have the standoff distance to be able, for carrier battle groups would be so far. I mean, it really hurts the ability of the U.S. Navy to be able to strike, with aircraft. On these into Iran. It was like, no, we're not doing that. Now, if this isn't the first time the Chinese have done this. Now, you may remember, do you remember, under Reagan and all the shit that went on with Iran, in the 80s? Do you remember that?
I do. Yes, I do.
Well, there was the Chinese were selling shit to the Iranians back then. And I don't know the names of the stuff now, but I remember the anti-ship missile back then, translated from Chinese, was called the silkworm, or the NATO designation. We called it the silkworm. It was an anti-ship missile. That may ring a name. Then there was an air defense missile that the Chinese, again, this is in the 80s, this isn't now, a missile that the Chinese were selling the Iranians. And again, so an anti-aircraft missile, and it was called, like the translation, it was called the Flaming Parakeet. I shit you not. That is 100% true. It's like,
at least it was flaming.
Yeah, it's flaming. Hey, and don't forget, dude, we got the Democrats on board because it's no longer the Strait of Hormuz; it's the Gay of Hormuz.
I seen that. I don't know where our partner in crime comes up with some of this shit, but he does.
Yeah. The Gay of Hormuz. I laughed.
You know what? Speaking about the gay Hormuz, or whatever we want to call it, the bull diaper Hormuz, whatever they want to call it. I am not surprised whatsoever that France was the first one to be non-committal. That doesn't surprise me whatsoever. When Macron came out and said we ain't sending anything, did that surprise anybody in NATO? Nope, not me.
Well, okay, but I don't think Macron was first. I mean, the
It
Brits
was
right
he
off
was well, yeah, the Brits did. You're right.
the Brits were like, you can't use our fucking air bases, and then the Spanish were like, you can't use our air bases and you know our air our you know our air defense our not, the airspace. So we had to fucking fly all the way around. Apparently, and now I don't know, I heard late last night before I went to bed or this morning that now a bunch of these countries are committing to sending ships for escort duty through the Strait of or the Gay of Hormuz. Is that
Yes,
is
and
okay?
do you know who the first nation was to commit?
Probably Japan.
No, Argentina.
What?
Argent
Argentina?
Argentina sent 2 or 3 frigates. They're on their way. They were the first to jump on board with us.
Really? I haven't
You've been
heard
out of
that.
you've been out of the loop.
Yeah, obviously I have been. So,
Yes, Argentina, also has an ulterior motive. So, but they're covering their bases.
well, Trump is about to break up NATO. Like Trump is serious. Like, and
I
the
hope
thing
so.
is,
I
a
hope
lot,
so.
a lot of Americans are real serious about this too. Like the Europeans have really played this wrong, and I think they realize it's not just Trump that's pissed off. Like the American defense establishment, people that are pro NATO are like, what the fuck? You little faggots. And again, I'm going to use this word. That's been my nonstop. Again, you know what? And people are going to be like, in the future, they're going to be like, homophobic, whatever. Fuck you, dude. My favorite person that works in the Trump administration is Bessent, the gay guy that's the Secretary of the Treasury. I love that fucking guy.
He's
Like,
so intelligent.
if
Jesus
that guy,
Christ.
yeah, it's seriously like half the time when I'm like, trying to figure out what's going on. What does the gay guy have to say? Like that guy is so credible to me. Like if he wasn't already gay married and he needed a best man to stand in his fucking wedding, he could be like, "Hey, Marky, will you stand?" And I'd like, "Yeah, I'll stand in your fucking wedding." Like so yeah,
As long as I
and
don't have to.
apparently Bessent punched Elon. Like,
I
Elon had the
heard
black
that.
eye. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, you know what Bessent said to Elon when Elon was getting all uppity? Shut up, faggot. So, he's a fucking bitches. It's like NATO, like, there's going to have to be a real come to Jesus. We're at a real come to Jesus moment here with NATO. It is so out of control. I posted this on our website, like, the Japanese currently run about 40 destroyers. The Japanese Navy, like they have a very substantial Navy. The Brits have, I think, 6 destroyers, and 3 of them are in dry dock right now for maintenance. So they've got 3. They don't have enough ships, realistically, they could basically cobble together one defense screen for one of their aircraft carriers, and it would be kind of a weak one. So they don't have any other ships, like if there's, but again, this is assuming that the ships are home and they're like, one's not one's not going down to the Falklands and one's not, like it's
Right.
crazy, like we have this special relationship with the United Kingdom. And these assholes don't spend any money on their fucking defense. They've got more horses than they've got tanks. They've got 3 fucking destroyers. They got 2 aircraft carriers that are defenseless. And then it's like, okay, but then we can't use the fucking air bases that we pay for. And it's like, fuck you. Like, this is bullshit. Like, it's really like, I think when the war in Ukraine comes to an end, and whatever that is, I don't know if that happens during Trump's administration, if the war comes to an end and the attitude and the Europeans don't come to Jesus, and the Europeans won't come to Jesus because they're dumbasses. Trump's going to end up basically be like, well, Russia's degraded. The war in Ukraine's over. The Europeans don't want to spend any money on defense. Trump is either going to start move to have people removed from have kicked out of NATO, or he is going to pull the United States out of NATO, and he's going to choose individual countries, and we will create bilateral defense treaties with individual countries that'll serve our interests, and the rest of them are going to write off. Like this is coming. This is coming within the next 3 years. At this rate, these assholes.
Yes, it is.
When I still have, and again, it's been a long time. It's been a while since I've done a pod, but and I started saying, shut up, faggot, all the time. But it's not just like with the Brits. It's not just the airbase thing and the ship thing and the carriers and destroyers. The Brits are actively putting us in a position that are going to allow the Chinese to put a naval base right next to Diego Garcia, which hurts us. And so it's like, okay, wait a minute. We have all these commitments with NATO to help them with their problems. But we also have commitments with other people that we have to defend. We have commitments with Jordan. Realistically, we have commitments with Egypt. We have commitments with Saudi Arabia. We've had commitments with Saudi Arabia since Teddy Roosevelt. We have commitments, honestly, with parts of Iraq. We absolutely do. With Bahrain, we have commitments. With the UAE, we have commitments. South Korea, we have commitments. Japan, we have commitments. So, we don't ask the Europeans to help us with our other commitments, but don't step on my dick when I'm trying to also maintain my defense commitments for other people. But you expect me to spend all this money, be there for you. You're not even doing what you're supposed to fucking do, but you're actively now fucking me on other commitments. The Brits have lost their motherfucking minds. They are in big ass trouble. And when the shooting stops in Europe and the shooting stops in the Middle East, if you live in the UK and you're listening to this podcast right now, you mark my words, your asses are in trouble.
Yep.
And Spain is in trouble too.
Well, and then was it earlier today? Trump called the NATO members cowards to all their faces over their refusal to help open the Strait of Hormuz. He called them to their face. You're a bunch of cowards. I guarantee you, with him calling them cowards, there stops the American tax dollars going to help fund these countries too.
Yeah, and we spend all this money for these fucking facilities. Like we spend billions of dollars for these fucking facilities. And I'll be one that honestly, like, and this doesn't get a lot of press because I was like, I looked this one up. Like 2 days ago. I was like, Trump was like, we send us some minesweepers because we actually have minesweepers, but we always kept a bunch of them in the Persian Gulf and Bahrain. I think that's the 7th fleet now. And we retired them because we have now can configure the LCS to do minesweeping duty. There are 2 minesweepers. Last I checked, they were in Singapore loading up. They may be at sea now. It's been about 2 days since I've looked, but they are configured for minesweeping duty. And, Trump's like, send us some minesweepers, which are totally defensive. And what surprised me was Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Okay, the Baltic, the NATO countries that are so far fucking out there that they're at the edge of NATO that it's really difficult to defend them. Like the reality is we maintain NATO maintains some troops in these countries really as tripwires, not to be able to stop the Russians, but basically to force the Russians. If you end up attacking British or American troops or NATO troops in these countries, it's going to definitely invoke an Article 5 because you're going to be in combat with American troops, right?
Yep.
So like they're tripwires. These Baltic countries have minesweepers because moving in around the Baltics, if the Russians start mining shit, this passive aggressive shit the Russians always do, insecure assholes, the Russians, that's my phrase. It's like they've got, I don't know, like 7 or 8 minesweepers between the 3 countries. And it's like, all right, like I was surprised that they're like, yeah, okay, we'll send some minesweepers down. Like, again, you're not going to sail minesweeper all the way down from the Baltics and put them on some fucking transports. Give me 4 of them. Each country give me 1, and then one country with more give me 2. And bring them on down. And I was so shocked that those assholes didn't fucking volunteer their minesweepers. Maybe that's changed. Maybe I haven't gotten the news. But I'm like, you fucktards you fucktards need to stop listening to the people in Brussels because, like, Uncle Sugar's pissed. What has NATO committed to doing now?
The problem, the problem is that all these NATO countries that you had just mentioned, they have their hand out for our technology and our tax dollars, but yet when we call it back to, hey, we need a little bit of help back, they're the first to not help. If I were Trump, I would say, get us out of NATO, screw them. And hey, as you know, I'm a product of the Vietnam era. We shouldn't have been in NATO then. We shouldn't be in it now.
Yeah, I mean, okay. From a pure, okay. Like this is again. There's a big debate here. So like the idea of like being the world's policeman, or if you want to be more avant-garde about, I call it a Pax Americana. As opposed to like Pax Romana, like the Roman Empire, like the American Empire, post-World War II American Empire, Pax Americana, PAX. We have to have facilities around the world for power projection further around the world for our interests. So, we could very easily break up NATO and negotiate, say, maybe with the Italians.
Or Greece.
And,
Greece is welcoming us.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I'm honest with you about the fucking Greeks, all right? Because I know the fucking Greeks. They're half fucking pinko red fucking commies. They're not as reliable as you think they could be. The current government in Spain is basically communist, by the way. Like the current,
sure they are.
Yeah, no, but like no kidding. Like no kidding. Like they're anti-God, fucking like the president or premier or whatever they call it. Like that dude. Like they're actual like Bernie Sanders, fucking AOC, dirty commies. But we could work out something with maybe a few of these countries. Maybe Germany would let us keep facilities there because they don't want to raise a fucking army. So it'd be like, well, and we pay all this money. So, maybe we keep an air base or 2 there and maybe work out something with Italy. But okay, let's say there's something to be said for maybe some of these countries. Like, let's say none of these southern European countries want to allow us to have any facilities there. Okay, well, I promise you that there's a few countries in North Africa that'd be like, come on down. We used to run strategic bombers out of like Morocco, like in the 50s. Like we could easily have something basically positioned in North Africa that's still within striking distance of all of our interests. And Trump, I'll tell you what, and this is where I'm getting, again, this is where Trump was talking about this a little bit. And back then, this is ancient history of last year. And I was like, do it. Do it. Trump said, we'll take over Gaza. We're going to move everybody out and we're going to take over. And I'm like, do it. Do it. make it a U.S. territory, make it a fucking armed U.S. camp like Kaliningrad is for the fucking Russians in Northern Europe. And then it would be a stepping stone for power projection into Europe if we needed to, into the Middle East, the Mediterranean. I mean, I love that. And then while we're on that, there's an argument to be made in the current situation. I'd have to look at the terrain, because there's some mountains that are not that far from the coast in the Persian Gulf, or the Gay of Hormuz. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump decides to permanently grab a piece of territory in Iran, or he could take it from North Oman, which isn't kind of real. The Brits created that. And we could have park a big fucking base, because we've got Bahrain, but I mean, Trump may try to actually physically take and permanently take control of the straits. Like, he may. What if Trump decides, again, this is fanciful, but Trump just makes shit up as he goes. He could just decide, we're going to take over 300, 400, 500 square miles of territory in southern Iran, and fucking it's fucking there, and we're gonna build a big ass fucking base and airstrips there. And then use the mountain. We'll move up to the tops of the mountain ridge, as for defense. And then, from the mountain ridge back, the mountain even works as a natural defense against this area. It'd be huge, but it's like, but I mean, if we're taking all this shit out of Europe, it's looking pretty interesting.
Yep. Yeah, it would be. And remember, from the tip of southern Italy to the tip of northern Africa, it's not that far. So there's actually pretty good sense in what you said about that. It's not far whatsoever.
Yeah,
Except unless you were in the Italians' First Brigade that had a hard time in 1941 over there. But other than that,
yeah.
Hey, I know my history. Come on.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. Like, I mean, okay, and I'm going to reference this one because I don't think maybe I've said it on pod. I'm sure I did. But I mean, talking about the Chagos Islands and Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia belongs to the Brits. And there's some explanation here that needs, because people don't understand. So there's an island, and it's called Diego Garcia. It's in the Indian Ocean, and Diego Garcia is really important for us. I mean, we used Diego Garcia for all the Gulf Wars. We used it for the wars in Afghanistan. We used it in the Vietnam War. That's where a lot of the bombers fly out of to reach all those parts of the world. B-52s, like, Arc Light, Nixon doing all this shit, Linebacker 1, Linebacker 2, all this stuff. A lot of that shit was flying out of Diego Garcia. It's a British island, and we rent the island. Like, we rent the base, or a part of the base, from the Brits. But it's so important to us. We've had it forever. And there are a group of these islands, and I don't think they were on Diego Garcia, but there was a group of people on one of these islands a little bit farther north than Diego Garcia called the Chagos Island chain, I think, or the Chagos Islands. And these people were called the Chagosians, the Chagos people. And the Brits, literally, when the Brits did this, they picked up the Chagoans and they moved them off the island, to Mauritanias or some shit. I don't know, 100 years ago. Okay. And so what's happened is now Mauritanias, which is kind of a satellite proxy for China, the people who run Mauritanias are kind of pro-Chinese. They have somehow petitioned with some international court that they have a right to take over the Chagoan Islands. because the Chagos peoples moved to Mauritania. And the actual Chagoan people were like, no. And I guess the judge that decided this, I don't know if he was a Chinese judge or was in the pocket of the Chinese, but basically was like, yeah. So now Mauritius or Mauritanius is going to be given control of these islands, and they're an ally with the Chinese. The Chinese can put a naval base right there, and the Brits are like, okay, we're going to let them do this, and we're going to, whatever, we're going to pay some reparations and do whatever. And there are Chagoans, like, it's pissing us off, it's pissing me off, it's pissing off the Department of Defense, it's pissing off the U.S. Defense Establishment. And there are Chagoans that are pissed off about it. And at this point, if you're in the United Kingdom and you're listening to this, I want you to understand what I'm telling you is not pie in the sky fancy shit. We're going to take Diego Garcia from you. We'll show up one day and we will inform you, Brits, we're going to inform you politely. You have 6 hours to get off the island, pack your shit up, and get off. Now, if you want to fight, you go right ahead because we're taking it. And then we're going to take all the Chagoan Islands. We're going to make it a U.S. territory. The Chagoan people have already signaled that they're like, we would love this. And we can fly the Chagoans back to the North Chagos Islands, and they can become a U.S. territory. All of it, like the U.S. Virgin Islands or Guam, or was it Micronesia, or some of these places in the Pacific. And the Chagoans have come out and been like, we approve, do this. And this is coming, you fuck faces. Like, no air bases. Our fucking pilots have to fly around the fucking planet the other way, or the long way around to Iran through the Med to drop bombs on the fucking Iranians for oil for the Middle East, or for Europe, and you want to do that, and then you're going to allow the Chinese to, fuck us on Diego Garcia? Man, fuck you motherfuckers. And here's another one. And I'm going to because I know I'm talking too much, and I apologize. I'm just pent up. So
you've been cooped up. I understand.
Oh my God, I've been fucking reading the news screaming. So here's the other one. So like, and this, you're going to see, this is get you right into politics. All of a sudden now, the U.S. media is like, Trump has issued a waiver that allows countries to buy Russian oil, so they won't get hit with tariffs when now it's embargoes. So remember, like, Trump's helping the Russians, right? Right? You've been hearing this, right, like with the oil, like allowing Russia. Now Vladimir Putin is first, he did a waiver for the Indians because there's all this Russian oil at sea waiting for ports to go into, like 800 million barrels, like off of Singapore, sitting around there, and and the Indians need it, whatever, and they've been secretly buying Russian oil, but we kind of kicked their ass on it with tariffs, and so they stopped buying Russian oil because we're trying to hurt the Russians. Well, now we're trying to settle the markets. We're going to give waivers and let people for like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is, buy Russian oil. And now the left media in the U.S. like, oh my God, now Donald Trump's helping the Russians. And it's like, oh, cool story, bro. Europe is basically fighting a war in Ukraine against the Russians. And we're providing money and weapons either to Ukraine directly, or we're, weapons to NATO so NATO can send the weapons to Ukraine. Where does Europe get all their energy from? They get some from the Middle East, and the rest of it they get from Russia. They've been getting it from Russia the whole time. Europe has been buying shit from the Russians for the entire war. And it's like, you fucking retards in the media. Danny, do you remember in ancient history? I think it was I don't know if it was like Plato or if it was Homer or whether it was Ulysses when they went on this great story where like when they fought dragons and Medusa and blew up something called the Nord Stream pipeline, in ancient history of like, I don't know, three
That was
years ago.
that was a Byzantines, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the Byzantine. Yeah.
Okay.
Um
Yeah. Why do
yeah,
you ask me these things?
because because it's
Just
like
because I
we're
was
we're
there?
like this Nord Stream pipeline, like they talk about like Germany, like the Nord Stream pipeline, Nord Stream 2. It's like, well, where'd the other end of the fucking pipeline go? Into Russia, you fucking faggot bitches. I am just like, Europe has been buying, like, what the fuck? Like, okay, term, in Trump's first term, okay, Trump was having a meeting with Angela Merkel in Europe,
I think
and
I know where you're going with this.
he's sitting there, and he's talking to her and the people from Germany, and he's like, wait a minute. We're supposed to be in NATO. We're paying for your defense. And you're signing an energy deal, Germany, with the Russians, when you could be buying energy from the United States as we pay to defend you from the Russians. And when Trump did that, that was the beginning of the U.S. media saying Trump's going to break up NATO. Trump's anti-NATO. And it's like, what the fuck? I'm telling you what, if they ever put me on goddamn TV in front of Margaret Brennan, I'd smack that bitch fucking across the face. Like this, the media in the U.S. is insane.
Didn't Trump call her a German Hillary?
I don't know what the fuck. Margaret Brennan? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
wait till you look up, I mean, I know Margaret Brennan is. I know her husband is too. JAG officer. I mean, I know exactly who he fucking is.
Oh my
Yusuf or
God.
whatever his name is. Yeah,
Well, we need to get into some local politics too. I mean,
Okay,
local
okay,
saying
okay.
United States. I mean, we're trying to solve these world problems, and
I told myself that we weren't going
you
to do a
may as well
long
float the
podcast.
ships on a Scampa flow. So
Yeah. Fuck. I mean, we should just take fucking Greenland, take Diego Garcia, take the Gaza Strip, and take the Strait of Hormuz and call it a day.
that's it.
I mean, I don't.
Well, one quick note: the somebody, the national speaker of Iran, just said that the United States is going to suffer now, and they're going to, do attacks like they've never seen, and all the other
Yeah.
thing. He's really, really coming out, saying what Iran's going to do to us. Has he forgot that there's two squadrons of B-52s within really close range? It's these guys, unless they just like to boast. I don't know.
Well, look, I saw the movie 300, and it's like, the Persians, again, the Iranians are like, our so many
You're
arrows
right.
will blot out the sun, and then the
Right.
Spartans are like, then we will fight in the shade. It's like, whatever, shut up. It's like the Iranians go through senior leadership, like flipping a Pez dispenser. Oh, he's dead. Next one. Oh, he's dead. Oh, senior person, he's dead. He's dead. Look, like,
Well,
like
it just came across the screen. Chuck Norris just died.
I actually saw that before we went live. Yeah,
Oh, I
he's in
didn't.
yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Chuck. But he had a great
Well,
life. He had a long life.
you think,
86.
yeah, and he was
I think
still
he was like,
pretty
I think he
active.
made it 86. Um,
And
so
also, wait, you talk about Trump having nads the size of the Rock of Gibraltar. Trump Trump is supposed to appear on a 24 karat gold coin to celebrate America's 250th birthday. It's going to be his mug on it. Love that guy. Love that guy.
I mean, Trump don't give a fuck.
No, no. Oh, that's what I was talking about. The Iranian message to America. We want to teach America a lesson so hard that no one will ever attack Iran again. Okay.
Well, the current plan with Iran is, I have bad news for the Iranians. It's either Iran is going to break apart into different factions and break up as a country. Because again, there's not one Iranian people. There's, I don't know what it is, like 17 different fucking ethnicities and groups of people in Iran. Like that country could break up and turn into whatever, which would make it a little bit more, controllable. Or we're going to just maintain a policy that every couple years we're going to go in there and bomb the fuck out of, and they keep doing this. Like, I think Trump's ultimate end goal is like, they're not going to have nuclear weapons. I mean, and Tucker Carlson and all these people, like Trump is always said, we're not going to let Iran have nuclear weapons.
Right.
We're not. And, and the reason why we're not, look how impossible North Korea is to deal with.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No one can do anything about North Korea because North Korea, there's always been war games. One of the problems with dealing with North Korea is the North Koreans could. Okay, all right. Let's just hear me out here. Let's just say we get into a nuclear exchange with North Korea. Okay, North Korea sits on the border of China and Russia. Southern tip of Russia. Out far to the west or to the east.
Go to the 38th parallel and turn right.
Yeah, we'll go through. Exactly. Okay, Douglas McGarvey, you're right. No, I'm sorry, that'd be Ridgeway now. And so let's say we end up in some kind of nuclear exchange with North Korea, just hypothetically speaking. Okay, I don't know, they torch off some shit in fucking South Korea, they kill a bunch of people, and then they start launching something. Because they have missiles that'll hit the United States. Like North Korea can hit New York now. They can absolutely hit the West Coast, but they can hit Washington and New York, their biggest missile. I can't remember the Hong Song, whatever it's called. I didn't study for this fucking test, but Hong Song 18 or something.
The Lil Kim special.
No, I think it's what it's called, like the Hong Song 18. Well, okay, if North Korea fires an ICBM or a couple ICBMs at the United States, they will come over, not the pole, but they'll fly over Russia and kind of come, near Alaska, unless they want to hit like North Korea, or they want to hit New York and Washington, which is something that they would do. And if we retaliate and we fire some kind of intercontinental missile response at North Korea, let's say we're like, oh, you motherfuckers. So we shoot 5, Minuteman IIIs out of Minot, okay, or whatever, up at North Korea. Well, guess where these missiles are going to have to go? They're going to fly right over Russia. And how is Russia? And again, the Russians, like their air defense radar, the Russians did have a satellite system, the Soviets, that detected missile launches. And it's degraded now to the point that we worry that the Russians, could have like a false positive and think we've launched something at them just on a normal day. Like, we worry about Russian technology, like them fucking up and starting a nuclear war because they're stupid. Well, how are the Russians, even if they weren't stupid. At what point Vladimir Putin gets a call and they go, Mr. President, the Americans have launched 5 ICBMs out of their Central Plains missile systems, and they're heading towards Russia. It was like, well, where are they headed? Well, right now, Mr. President, we know they're headed towards the eastern Soviet eastern part of Russia, Siberia. At what point does Vladimir Putin say, well, I'm sure they're for the North Koreans and they're not going to hit us? Like, how long does Putin wait to find out that the missile, just a matter of degrees, is going to land in North Korea and not in Russia? And then here's the other problem. Okay, like, if we're shooting down North Korean nuclear weapons in ballistic trajectories, or we're doing it with naval ships, a lot of this combat with these missile-to-missile systems is going to be taking place over Russia. Like, it's very easy that if something happens at North Korea, it could trigger an exchange with the Russians, because the Russians are going to be like, this looks like they're hitting us. Yeah. And then
they're going to catch all the fallout.
Yeah, and that's not even factoring in accidents, errant missiles, technological failures. A missile fucking breaks and goes off. A war, starts going, definitely lands in Russia, and the Russians are like, fuck me, man. Like, they think it, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, we are not going to let Iran have nuclear weapons because they are fucking crazy.
Yep.
The Europeans are fucking faggots, and the Iranians are fucking crazy. And it's like, that's American foreign policy right now.
Well, and you can also let Putin think the other way. Let's say Lil Kim, lit off a few. How does he know that they're for America and really not something else? So he's fucked on both sides of the equation.
Well, Russia is so weak. The reality is, like, people talk about China invading Taiwan. China could very easily invade Siberia and Vladivostok, and like, the Chinese feel that the Russians took that from them unfairly, because a lot of that territory was taken in a treaty by the Tsar in like the 1860s, about the time of the American Civil War, when China was like fucking very weak and like had all these problems. They signed some treaty where basically the Chinese were like, okay, we'll sign all this away, we're busy. And the Chinese want all that shit back. And the Russian position has always been, because they're such a weak military in many ways, they don't have the ability to project conventional forces, that the Russians have no problem using nuclear weapons on their own soil. Everyone knows that the Russians, if the Chinese come across the border into Russia, that the Russians will just start nuking Chinese troops in Russia. Like, we would probably not use a nuclear weapon. Like, if a hypothetical, if let's say Mexico had 1 billion people in it and the Mexicans came across the border into Arizona, unless for some reason we were like thinking they were going to overrun the entire country, we would probably not use nuclear weapons in Arizona to beat the Mexicans. The Russians right off the bat will start using nuclear weapons.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. I fully agree with that. I fully agree with that.
Because not everybody is like the West. Like, a lot of these countries will I mean, okay, like, just look at the situation in Iran. Like, people are like, why would Iran, like, Iran has done some stuff that some people were like, oh, why would Iran do this? Why would Iran do that? Well, if you think you're going out, if you think you're going to lose this war, or you're going to die anyway, you're going to fire off all your best shit. Do you
and
think
take
right
people
now,
with you.
if the Iranians had a nuclear weapon, do you honestly think they wouldn't have already used it? They would have used it.
Yes, they would have.
The Iranians would never allow themselves to lose while still sitting on a nuclear weapon.
Yep. Too much pride. Too much pride. Or too much insanity, one of the two.
Well, when you have a nihilistic, millennialist, return of the 12th Mahdi, whatever, that brings the end times, that's what you're, like if you think you can start a nuclear war, because somehow you'll have paradise, you're not agonizing over the use of nuclear weapons. Like no one thinks for a second that the that the Iranians are logical people. So,
Right.
all
Right.
right. So let me ask you this: is Ilhan okay? Because I just saw this. So now there's documentation this morning that Ilhan Omar did marry her brother. I guess now it's coming out that Ilhan Omar's father is responsible for genocides in Somalia. Have you heard any of this?
I've heard rumblings about that. I've also heard that the House is starting procedures to get rid of her.
I mean, I think there's an argument to be made for some of these people that they need to be denaturalized. And
Right.
there's a legal process to do that. If you come in the United States under false pretenses or you provided false information, that's
Wow.
grounds to denaturalize you. And I think we're to the point now that that's coming.
Wait, well, you wait real quick. You talk about Iran being totally loonies. They're, you know how they murdered all those protesters recently. If you were protesting in Iran, well, one of the people that Iran publicly hung their national wrestling champion because he was part of the protest.
I saw that. Like they just hung him like 2 days ago, right?
Right? Yeah. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In
Well,
public.
like Trump came out on like Air Force One and he was talking to reporters in a gaggle and they were talking about something with the Iranians. And Trump came out and said, well, they killed at least 35,000 people. Like this was just a few weeks ago. Like you can measure it in weeks. Maybe it was 2 months ago, but maybe a month and a half ago. But they killed 35,000 people. Well, here's the thing. We know that because we have satellites, and we have really, really, really good satellites. The reason we know how many there's always been rumors that are basically substantiated as true, but we don't release the images because they're still technically classified. We have satellite images of all the people that were killed in Tiananmen Square in 1989. Is it June 4th or 5th or whatever it is, 1989? You have all these people that were killed. The Chinese still deny that it happened. They don't. No one's allowed to talk about it. It's forbidden. You mention Tiananmen Square, on the anniversary of that date, like they locked that fucking square down. Like there's all kinds. The Chinese are super cagey about it. There's a lot of Chinese people that don't officially know the Tiananmen Square happened, and I think they could have been up to 50,000 people. They think anywhere. There's debatable numbers, but what happened in Tiananmen Square changed our relationship with the Chinese forever. That's why we can't have Chinese weapons. We have importations, 89 import. Like all these things that affect even me. Are because of Tiananmen Square. I mean, the fucking Iranians did that 6 weeks ago, and everyone pretends like this didn't happen until eventually, if the Iranian regime rolls over. And then some other people this will all come out. And then everyone like Margaret Brennan and all these people will suddenly come out and they'll do these long, mournful stories and listen to the brutality of the Iranians and how they cut down the freedom, the people just wanting freedom and the abuses they've done for women. But right now, because it's on the opposite side of a political situation with Trump, it's like, oh, it didn't happen. We don't care. But it'll be the most important thing in the future. And it's like,
Well,
okay.
you talk about the lunacy. Do you know who the Kennedy Center is giving their Profile and Courage Award to this year?
Margaret Brennan, I don't care. I mean, no one
No,
cares.
no, close. Those that got arrested protesting in Minneapolis.
You can't even hardly oh, when was that? Like, oh, back when Ulysses was on his Odyssey, like that was like ancient history. I mean,
The
with fucking
lunacy of
Trump.
the left has no boundaries. It really doesn't. It's crazy. It's crazy. And just like the Save Act,
Well,
even
I don't.
75%.
Okay, explain to
Oh,
me what's. Then we'll call it because we don't want to go forever. What's going on
yes.
with the Save Act right now?
Okay. The Save Act, i.e., voter ID. All
Yes.
right. Well, 92% of Republicans, 75% of Democrats, 88% of all overall Americans want voter ID. All right. The
Mm-hmm.
Democrat, it passed, the voter ID Act passed in the House, went to the Senate. You know, you need the 60.
Did it pass? Oh no,
Why?
did it pass in the House? I wasn't
Yes, it
aware of
did.
that.
Yes, it passed in the House.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if the average of 88% of all Americans, both Democrat and Republicans, want it, we all know why the Democrats in the Senate and nobody in the House voted for it. Basically, why they want it? Because remember, if there's no voter fraud, then what's the big idea? You know, if you get on an airplane, you have to have an ID. If you drive a car, you have to have an ID. If you want to rent a car, you have to have an ID. Why is it that the Democrats don't want voter ID? Is because they know, because of all the bullshit going on,
I
and
mean,
they will
everybody
never be
knows
elected.
this.
Right. Right. And these people, the Democrats, the way they're fighting it, like I said, the liberal lunacy has no bounds. None. Zero.
Well, I heard that Chuck Schumer had come out and he was like, "We don't want to pass this because we don't want to make it easier to buy an AR-15 than it is to vote." And I'm like,
Right.
"What are you talking about, dude? Like, for me to buy an AR-15, I mean, I'm giving my driver's license, my gun permit. I have to fill out a
Right.
4473 with all kinds of shit asking about, and
Every,
it's asking about my citizenship status. It's asking about my
everything.
mental status. It's asking where I live. It's asking if I live in the city or outside the city of where I live. It's asking what city and county I was born in. And then it has
Yep.
options. It has options for like race, gender, weight, height. It has all that on there.
Right.
And then I signed this document, and then there goes, and it can go through a federal background check, or my gun permit will avoid that because in Ohio I can get rid of that. But I had to go through a huge background check for the gun permit, and then it's like I signed this document, and at any time in the future, for the rest of my life, if the ATF determines that something on that document is fraudulent, they will come and put me in jail.
Yes, they will.
10 years
Well,
from now, they're looking at a document and they're like, wait a minute, that's not right.
no,
It's like,
I agree.
okay. And so it's easier to
But,
buy an AR-15 than it is to vote. Motherfucker,
yeah.
shut
All
up,
you got,
faggot.
yeah. All you have
Shut
to,
up.
all you have to do is show your birth certificate or your citizenship papers. That's it. That's all. But they don't want that. The Democrats have gone so far.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute. Instead of talking about the Democrats here, all right, I've heard that, God, Mitch McConnell's office, because I don't even know Mitch McConnell's even. Mitch McConnell right now is almost like the leader of Iran. Okay, it's like, is he fucking alive? Mitch McConnell's office, and then who is it who runs the Senate now? Is it
John Thune.
Tillis? Or Thune? John Thune.
He's a
Is he the
rhino.
one? Is he stopping it, or is somebody else stopping?
Okay. He could. they could pass it in the Senate. All John Thune, as Senate president, has to do, weighs two options. He has the nuclear option, which means you don't need the 60, 51 will do it. Or he could install the talking filibuster, which is a backdoor way around of getting it passed. He's not doing either. And it gets
What
better. It gets better.
what about putting
There
it in the financial thing and do reconciliation?
Yeah. Well, it gets better. Rand Paul, your buddy, is not
My
voting.
buddy.
He's not voting for Markwayne Mullen, the senator from Oklahoma, to take over Kristi Noem's job and the Republican to
You're
Republican.
Kristi Noem, your buddy.
She's your side squeeze. But anyway, that's who was nursing you back to health. You ain't kidding nobody.
No. People in the past, I told you, Kristi Noem, I told you that fucking bitch was crazy. I told you she was fucking crazy. That was going to blow up. That bitch is cray-cray.
Did you see what came out? Supposedly,
I know all kinds of shit about Kristi Noem. What do you want to know?
Well, no, not the lover and on the side squeeze.
No. Oh, no. Lewandowski and the gun permit? The duty gun?
I shot the dog. But no, I'm talking about, it was, what was it? $240 million were used on commercials to promote her department and showed in a good light, right? Well,
yeah.
In all those commercials, it was promoting her. And not the Trump administration, not the overall department. Was she setting herself up for something in the future?
Yeah.
I say yes.
Oh, okay. Really? Another breaking news: water's wet. I had been traveling internationally and was coming back through JFK, which is internationally sucks. Just always sucks. Because it's just crazy the amount of people that come in. And so just to get through the port of entry, fucking JFK takes forever. And so I posted on our social media. If you don't doubt me, you can go back to our Facebook page because I didn't put it on the website, but it's on Facebook. There's a video of Kristi Noem talking, and it's her done up. And I took a screenshot of it, and I was like, oh, man, if fucking people in New York love this. And, it's all about her. And it's, but she's like, okay. And I think what did her in with Trump is I didn't realize she'd spent all this money on this thing. Like there's pictures of her on a horse, pictures of her whatever, and all this. And then she claimed that Trump knew about all this money. Like she spent $250 million on this. And apparently, I think she may have hired a friend of hers or an associate somehow to be the producer maker somehow with this video. And here's the thing, and I'm gonna say this. If Barack Obama was president and Valerie Jarrett was the director of Homeland Security, and that bitch spent $250 million on vanity videos of her looking cool, eating barbecue or some shit, it would be completely flipped. The Republicans would be calling for her head and doing investigations, and the Democrats would basically say you're racist and you're a piece of shit. Like, Kristi Noem has been a problem since the chances that Kristi Noem could possibly end up being criminally convicted of a crime, I think, are sky high. Kristi Noem was still governor of whatever Dakota she's from, flying around on government money, on state money, with her boyfriend, Corey Lewandowski, attending all these functions and charging it. And they were sharing and charging it to the state, and she got away with it. And I'm like, I remember seeing this being like, what the fuck is wrong with this girl? Because this kind of happens in life. This is a phenomenon I've noticed. There kind of gets to a point in life where some people in a way, you could kind of describe Trump this way, but it's kind of like when you get to the end of your career, it's kind of like cocaine. And you're like, what does that mean? When you get to the end of your career in life, your real personality comes out. It just intensifies your personality. It's like the old joke. Well, cocaine just intensifies your personality. Well, what if you're an asshole? Well, when you kind of get to the end and you're like, fuck it, where's mine? Like, it's my turn now. I've earned this. And you're doing it with government money. Oh, fucking Christ.
You're asking for it.
Asking for it. I'm telling you, Kristi Noem is probably going to be convicted of something. And that's not just federal. I'm talking back in the state. And the only reason that they don't do it is they must be protecting her because the hometown girl, Republican, whatever. But if some Democrat prosecutor in her home state ever gets authority over this, they're going to get her. It's insane. That woman has lost her motherfucking mind.
Yeah,
that bitch is crazy.
Crazy with power.
No, she's crazy. She's just fucking bonkers. Like then like she showed up. When she wrecked her job. And got fired by Trump because she said Trump knew about this $250 million video thing. Her husband is sitting right behind her. It's like nobody expected her husband to show up. It's like, well, Corey Lewandowski's going to, be there. Like everyone knows, like, oh, her marriage, that they're separated, things didn't work out. Like everyone's like, well, there's something going on here, and we're not going to get into personal lives, but they're adults and whatever. But it's so out of control that like he's living in government housing with her. She's trying to get him a duty government gun, so he can carry a gun at the White House, and and then she shows up at this hearing with her husband, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And this is before she opened her mouth about the $250 million Barbie video.
Yep.
And it's like, this fucking, it's like, what the hell? Just dumb. If her name, again, I'll say it again, then I'll get off it. If her name was Valerie Jarrett, every Republican would be calling for her to go to prison. The bitch is crazy. It's embarrassing. And her embarrassment finally got Trump to fire her. And it's impossible to embarrass Trump.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
You're right there. You're right. So we've been going for a while.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing this last minute.
Well, it's all right. We got to get something out there. It's been crazy between you being sick and me doing my stuff and Kraken doing his stuff. It's like, Jesus, and now it's really getting busy. Oh, well.
Yeah, Mongo's always available, it seems like. So Mongo's going to be showing up a lot more on the podcast. So,
yeah. Well, I hope you get feeling better.
Yeah, I think I am. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm starting to work out a little bit. It doesn't look like there's been any damage. Officially, I'll know Monday. But not, this is my first like real grown up illness ever. Like I'm not trying to, like, I haven't talked about, like, I won't even talk about it like in the text message and the group chat, because I don't like to talk about this kind of stuff. But it was like looking like they couldn't figure out what the fuck the problem was, and it was not looking good. Like it looked like it could. I was looking at the end there for a minute. Like it was bad until they figured out what it was. So
right. All righty, I have to get going.
Okay, well,
it's already 12:30.
Let me toss it out. This wraps up episode 398 of the John 1911 Podcast. If you want to see more stories or pictures, links, everything we discussed, please go to the website at John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
Bye-bye.